Good morning, Pura Vida. Here I am with my thing going in my throat again. Welcome to this week's Dharma Talk. To those of you who are here at beautiful Bali Rica, and to those of you who are joining us on the internet. This morning, Jeff is going to give us our talk after I do a quick repeat of last week's meditation. This time we won't go through all of it. You put all the pieces together, and I'll just start off the first round and then everybody do it themselves. Lisa, if you'll time it for 3 minutes when I give you the signal. I'm just going to go quickly say a few words first. Okay, mindfulness, paying attention in the now. The now is marked by each breath. That's the only time there really is a now. The Buddha taught mindfulness of breathing as the platform meditation for itself, all by itself, or for any other kind of meditation. It's to establish three things. It's to establish focus or concentration, observation, and to get you to learn to place your mind on being quiet so that you can tone down, achieve some equanimity, and then you can stay with that, or you can use that to get where you want to go before you do another meditation. So it begins with saying, ever mindful, I'm breathing in, I know that I'm breathing in. Ever mindful, I know, breathing out, that I am breathing out. That's awareness, and now you place your focus on that. The second thing you do is, as you say that, you also can do several things at a time. Place your focus on observing your breath. How is your breath? This is all done with natural breath. Is your breathing long and slow? Is it rapid? Is it shallow? What is it? Just note it. Don't talk about it to yourself. Just note it. And having done that, you continue to bring your focus back to breathing in, breathing out, and now you breathe in throughout the body, which is like a body scan. You can take as long or as short a time as you want. So now you've had awareness, focus, observation, and sensation. And now you're going to go to placing the mind where you want it to be. And that is said to one of two ways. Ever mindful, breathing in, I calm my breath, I calm my mind and body. Ever mindful, breathing out, I calm my mind and body. Or you can simply say, in, relax, out, let go. Or in, calm, out, calm. You can take this anywhere, anytime. So let's try that. Then I'm sorry about my throat. It keeps wanting to do this. It's cats. I'm allergic to the damn cats. Sorry about it. Okay, Lisa, 3 minutes. Everybody ready? Chime. Where'd Lisa go? A little louder, please. Close your eyes. Be seated in a comfortable, stable position. Relax. And go into silence and stillness. Was that the ding?
Mm-hmm.
Oh. I didn't know. I didn't know that was the ding. Well, not only did I miss the ding, but those of you who are on the internet may be hearing the sound of summer in Costa Rica. Those are cicadas, and they are very loud. So that's what this. It's not your computer or whatever you're watching it on. It's a real sound here. Okay, Mr. Jeff, take it.
Good morning, everyone.
Morning.
We have been doing some very, very basic talks since the first of the year about the practice of meditation and about equanimity, about finding a balanced spot where you climb the mountain and see all sides of the hillside. It's a good image to keep in mind because today we're going to talk about the middle point between attachment and detachment. This is a big, big topic. We could probably spend this year on the topic because finding the middle way with some of these things is a challenge because we're used to being in the extremes. And so to find the balance where we climb the mountain and yet we can see everything and yet we don't attach to everything. The second noble truth says that we suffer because we cling, grasp, and crave things or circumstances or situations. And so one of the goals of us coming here, of the Buddha 2,500 years ago, was to eliminate suffering. A worthy goal. And those that are enlightened don't live in a suffered state. So whenever we have suffering, we're called again to look, to observe, to recognize, to release, and replace. I want to start with something that I always did in psychology. Those of you that have been here with us for the 5 years, I probably have shared this 2 other times, but it's a good introduction. The idea about attachment and detachment is like this. I'll describe it for you, Ruthie.
I got it in the corner of my eye a little bit.
Can you see? Okay. You see how freely and easily that is for me to do that. When I have done relationship counseling with people, they are usually stuck at one place or another, and that's why they're suffering and having difficulties and needing a counselor. Either they're stuck here in a relationship in total attachment, or they are stuck here in total detachment. And then if you have, for example, a married couple and one of them is stuck in attachment and the other is stuck in detachment, what do you do? It seems like a quite impossible task, and it happens quite often. Any of you had those kind of relationships where you were stuck in one or the other of those? Mm-hmm. It's painful and there's suffering involved. So the Buddha gives ideas that there's a way out of this suffering as we do good work with ourselves. I've had to do this. I'm sure you've had to do this some. And the idea, again, by the Buddha is to move away from the extremes. To go to the center of the bell curve is the answer. And so as I studied this week, I came up with 2 words that this talk is going to be about. It is about detached involvement. Such a nice tone. So detached involvement. Those are 2 paradoxical words together. I'm going to start with, I have 3 columns here. One is about over-attachment. The other is about over-detachment. And then the middle is about how to find the middle balanced involvement where we're involved but we're detached. I have a bunch of illustrations for this in my 3 columns. I better put my glasses on so I can see what I wrote. The first one that comes to my mind is the 3 temperatures. Over-involvement is hot. It's kind of a hot mess. High expectation, high pressure, high expectations. Over-involvement is pressured. It's like the pressure cooker. Over-detachment is cold. Have you ever heard the phrase, boy, they're a hot mess? Or, there's a cold fish. Both of those are the extremes of this idea that equanimity challenges us to be involved in. And so, obviously, the temperature is warm. How will we be warmly involved and connected to life and yet not be prone to either be a cold fish or a hot mess about it? Enlightenment is about finding that middle spot. So if overattachment is clinging, grasping, and craving at things, the pressure cooker, then the opposite of that, the overdetachment, is non-involvement, disinterest, being aloof. Neither of them the answer. Here's the balanced idea about that. Attaching to the idea that we let things be as they are. Not what we expect them to be, not what we are disinterested in them being, but actually letting things be as they are. That sounds fairly unpressured, doesn't it? It's attractive. I find that very attractive. But it's not a hot mess and it's not a cold fish.
It's just right.
What's that? It's just
right.
Again, we're going to we're
right.
going to the children's fairy tales that taught this very thing about equanimity, that equanimity is the answer. The bed's not too big, the bed's not too small, it's just right. The porridge is not too hot, not too cold, is just right. We teach our children this, and then again, we have to teach ourselves it over and over again until it becomes normalized that we are involved in a detached way. We take life as it is. One of the first places that I learned this was by working in treatment with people, and they were like, you take life on life's terms.
One of the characteristics of equanimity of John Kabat-Zinn is acceptance.
Mm-hmm.
And this is a form of acceptance.
It is.
Yeah. So it's healthy acceptance.
It is healthy acceptance. As a matter of fact, you just stole my next point.
Oh.
Awesome.
Great mind.
Awesome. Oh, you can steal it anytime. It's great. It is what it is. She just stole my point. Awesome.
Well, if I hadn't put it out there, I'd have forgotten it.
So, if you overattach, you own everything. And when you own everything, you control everything. Or you think you control everything. Or you try to control everything. I know I'm from these kind of people.
Yeah.
We own a lot.
Yeah.
We own a lot of merchandise. We own a lot of properties. We own a lot of each other's lives as well, so we think. And so the owning is over-attachment, and it's not a Buddhist idea at all. The other is, interestingly, in relationships, people disown each other. And so you own too much or you own too little. You say, I don't need you anymore, Mom. A difficult thing, seeing you came from this body. And yet sometimes that's people's extreme answer about how they will deal with it. But the better spot is to accept. Mom, you are how you are. I am how I am. Let's find our way. Less family problems, less divorces, less parenting problems. I'm just thinking in the relationship realm here. But if everything is a gift of which we are grateful for, but not something that we own, it's so much easier to be grateful. Another thing about overattachment is that it's almost always connected to the future. About expectations about how it should be and how it will be. And we're going to work hard to make that happen. Detachment, the opposite, is often connected to the past. So we throw things away, detach, say I'm not going to be a part of that because something in the history that we've gone into we're stuck with. And therefore that's supposedly our only solution. But again, the idea is that we live in the present only. What you have going on is right here, right now only. You don't have 12 o'clock today. You don't have 8 a.m. today again. What you have is right now. And when you do that, you live in this balanced, attached, and detached spot where you are involved with low expectations. Balance from a Buddhist perspective, this is a really good thing, so I'm going to read it exactly from the page. Balance from a Buddhist perspective is based on not expecting anything, but open to everything that comes your way. Not expecting, reducing expectations if you're fully enlightened to zero. But being involved with whatever comes your way as it is. Non-judgmental, no expectations, only that I will be involved in this. This is good stuff, isn't it? Mm-hmm. Such a challenge for those of us who live either as cold fish or drama queens. The pressure cooker or the, or the floating down the stream willy-nilly. So these idea and another set of writers about this says that both over-attachment and over-detachment are a poverty-conscious perspective. Mm-hmm. We live less than our privilege when we live in those two states. I really like that. And so a perspective is this idea that we can be attached in a detached way. We can be involved in a detached way.
Let's see, am I reading this correctly? If you have abundance just naturally,
yes,
you're in the middle zone. If you have too much and you're worried about it all the time, you're not. You're in a poverty mode, even though you have much.
Yes.
If you don't have much and you're envious of everybody who does,
you live in a poverty mode.
So if you have envy of the lack of abundance and you have jealousy as an overabundance, you're trying to get to the middle where you simply have an abundance.
You live in a deprived state.
Is that?
Yes, exactly.
Okay, I had to think about
so if you want true wealth in life, true happiness, true satisfaction, true calm, true involvement, it will be that you find your way from those two extremes, which are both poverty extremes. Mm-hmm. I learned that from Black Church, that they often say, you are living beneath your privilege. Mm-hmm. Because this is all really, really possible. I want to take this in another way. I've done 3 R's before. Recognize, release, replace. Those 3 things fit in these 3 categories that we've been talking about today. To recognize is to attach to something for a moment. To release is to detach from it. When we replace something in its place, now we've become involved in a new way with it. Let me say that again because I want to make sure that I have this clear. When we recognize something, we attach for a moment. When we release it, we detach from it. Mm-hmm. When we replace it with something else, all of a sudden we become involved in a new detached way. The Buddha said you can only lose that which you cling to.
That's a great sentence.
It's a great thought. You can only lose that which you cling to. If you don't cling, you don't lose. I know in business, and I've done this often in therapy with people, how do you create win-wins instead of win-lose? This is a very non-competitive, non-combative idea, to find the middle way. So let's say in business that you're selling a product and you come to someone you want to sell it to. You could hold to exactly the price that you want for it. You might not get the sale. You can give it away for free. You won't stay in business long if that's your regular way. But this negotiable spot in the middle where you come in and you know what it's worth, the other person has a different idea. You've climbed the mountain and now you see all sides of the perspective. Between these two extremes is a lot of room. We often go from this extreme to that extreme, or get stuck in one or the other. And the wealth is found somewhere in the middle. I always say it's the 40 to 60% spot. So even if you let's be realistic here, even if you reduce your expectations from 100% to 40, you're in the right direction. You're going in the right direction. If you want to be fully enlightened, then you continue to bring it down to 0, where everything that comes your way is just everything that comes your way. It's a very, surprisingly, it seems like an easy spot, but to get to that spot of detached involvement is one heck of a lot of work. We have to reorient our thinking. We have to change our perspectives on relationships. We have to change our perspectives on money. We have to change our perspectives on the environment, on everything we change to find this way. And when you do, what you find is satisfaction. Mm-hmm. Is this making sense? Mm-hmm. So, if the process of attachment is this recognize, release, replace, to find balance in it, that we recognize things, it's okay to attach to something, to do something productive with it. So if we've had a struggle with money, it's okay to spend some time looking at all angles of how we look at money. Then as we see it often, we say, those ideas have not worked for me because I'm still worrying and frustrated and suffering about money. So I've had to release it. What will I put in its place? Will I just float down the stream and hope money comes my way? I don't know. Will I work every day because I'm so fearful that I won't have enough money? I don't know. But the balance spot somehow is through the recognition of where you've been, the release of what doesn't work about that, and finding a middle path. This is hard work. It even has to do with how you talk to yourself and how you look at yourself. I'll give you an example this week because I thought about it. I was studying and then I get a text. We run some properties down the road from us, and one of them has a big pool, and the pool always loses water. And therefore, to have it go over the infinity edge, you need to continually, every time you go over there, turn on this spigot, and then the return on the pool fills, and then the pool fills. And then when you leave, you shut off the water valve. So this week, I went over and did 100 things at this house. The very first thing was what I always do, and that's go turn that valve on because it's going to take a while for the water to fill. And then I remind myself a few times, because I'm a little forgetful, that the very last thing that I have to do is walk down there again and then turn off that valve. Well, wouldn't you know, I forgot. I go home, I'm like, wow, I was really productive. awesome. The place is in great order, ready for the next people. And so the next morning, this is at 4 in the afternoon, the spigot's been on now since 4 p.m. And now 7 a.m., someone in another house says, say, we don't have any water. The 2 huge tanks are completely empty. And I'm like, why is that? And then, so my partner, no idea. I had no idea that I had forgotten that. And so I'm like, well, something's wrong. We have a leak somewhere. that was my first response. And so my partner goes down there and he immediately goes to that valve, shuts off the valve. The pool is super full. It's just having a bubbling day with water everywhere and over the edge, all kinds of great things. And so in the past, I would have dwelt on that all day, my mistake.
You would have said mean things to yourself.
I would have said mean things regularly to myself. Yep, this is just like you, Jeff. You're forgetful. These are words that my mother said to me as a child over and over and over again. I lost mitten after mitten after mitten until she finally said to me, you can freeze your little hands for all I care. If you're watching, Mom, you'll remember. It's like me. I should write more notes. Remind myself more often. But interestingly, in this process of how to be involved and yet detached, the only thing that I did was I said to my partner, I am so sorry that I forgot that. I'm going to try to figure out how I will do it differently next time. And I have already figured I'm going to put a note on the key, which is the last thing that I do to do it. Then I'll be okay. This won't happen again, I don't think. In the past, I would have been over attached to that idea. Now I could be. I'm not much this over detached kind of person. I'm kind of an involved person by nature, or by training at least. And so if I was over detached, I'd be just like, it's not my problem. But instead, I could actually own it for a moment and then release it and then replace it with the idea, I did like 90 things over there. And I'm glad I got all those done. And this was something that I need to remedy for the future, because we do want people to have water at their properties. And it takes about a day for those 2 tanks to fill again. So they had the consequences of my mistake. But I didn't beat myself up about it, and that's because of being here. Because of learning this middle way. There's a creed about this that I'd like us to do at the end. I want to read it. Today I will commit myself to detachment. I will allow myself and those around me the freedom to be as we are. I will not force solutions on problems, thereby creating new problems. I will participate in life with detached involvement. It's a nice creed. Do you want to add something, Ruthie? And then I want to open it to your questions or your ideas about this. You want to add something?
One of the things that occurred to me while you were talking was it took me a long time to understand the sentence that Reverend Bill Sloan said, which is the only true marriage can exist with 2 people who do not need each other. And I think so much of this attachment and detachment is trying to accumulate, claim, as you say, other people, they don't live up to the expectation. When you have 2 healthy people and they're both doing their own thing, then you can have a genuine relationship. But if one is being sycophantic or what have you, needs something from the other one, inevitably they get into a lack of balance.
An imbalance.
and imbalance. So that kind of went through my mind. This a point at which you go to obviously between love, which is a powerful attachment, but with a sense of detachment from needing that person to fill your needs. If that makes sense. So that was just the only thing that kind of came to mind.
Thank you. I
agree with all of this very much.
This middle way is never talked about at a marriage ceremony. You listen to the people that give little messages at wedding ceremonies. It's all about over-involvement. The songs are all about over-involvement. I can't breathe without you. You are my everything. All of me, I give all of me to you. These are the wedding songs.
Well, it's Valentine's Day.
It is Valentine's Day, and so maybe we could be challenged to do that in a balanced way.
That's right.
People who make it are people who figure out how to connect with each other and how to disconnect with each other easily and freely, day in, day out. I want to add one more thing that I forgot that I saw when I turned it over to you for a minute, is that the idea when we over-attach to things is we start attaching to symbols of ourself rather than ourself. And when we actually have a detached involvement, we actually attach to our true self, our Buddha nature, which is that we don't own things. That we can be grateful because we have some things. That's different. And so the idea that we attach to symbols of ourselves when we do these two depraved states of over-involvement, under-involvement. By the way, in parenting, in parenting manuals, they talk about both of those. Abandonment, helicopter parents. Smothered, ignored. The answer in that, if you love your kids, you'll be involved with them, but you don't own them. They're a gift to you for a moment.
That's the middle way.
That's the middle way. It's evident in all religions, in all philosophies of things, that the real answer is found somewhere in the middle. So what are your challenges as you listen to the idea about how to have a detached involvement? What are your ideas? What are your questions? Anyone? Yeah, Susan. Speak up so the people on them can hear.
Okay, I have a question. When you were talking about your pool story,
yes,
my immediate thoughts were, was solving your problem. So, in the long term, not setting a timer or a note, but fixing the pool.
Right.
The pool shouldn't leak.
Yeah. Yep.
And so it's just like, but that's attachment, right?
It is. It's about attaching to my problem. It's my problem, not yours, Susan.
I know, right? but my problem is I like to help people, and sometimes, it's just like I like to help, solve their problems, and
of course.
And I need to, I guess not,
that's You need to find a balance away from that. Because I'm not going to pick on you. You brought it up. So
right,
what you do is you rob them of their solutions. I learned this early on because early on in therapy, I thought I had all the answers and I had so few. I mean, my training gave me some, but then life started to come at me with all these people. And all of a sudden I'm like, I'm just not sure that's in chapter 3 of the family therapy textbook. So you have 2 wives. And so, when you get involved in that spot, and we all do, not just you, we have to pull ourselves back from that ledge. It's not our ledge. I have a son who really struggles with life. I have to let him have his struggles with life. Be there when he needs me, but not be there when he doesn't need me, and he doesn't need me most times. That's detached involvement.
This just reminds me of something I heard, which was when communicating with someone, asking them, is this something we need to solve, or is this for me to be listening?
Mm-hmm.
And just determining up front which one you're doing.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. That's really respectful. Now they are in charge of their ledge. If you have control issues, this is real difficult. Some of you are smiling. And if you have non-involvement issues, this is a problem. Because drifting along will not get you either. Some of the real rubber meet the road kind of thing about Buddhist practice is you have to practice. This is a discipline. If you're going to get somewhere in this middle way, you're going to have to find some intention and some concentration and some discipline. If you do, then you can find some of this. You wanted to add something, yeah?
My name's Brian, everyone.
Hey, Brian.
Thank you for this detached involvement. It's exactly what I've been looking for. And what I'm fascinated by is when kind of hidden expectations pop up and I go, I didn't even know I had wanted things to be a different way than they are. I argue with reality. I get angry, irritated, annoyed, frustrated. And so I'm kind of curious if you can speak to what you see as like the root of control. Why is it that I feel like I need to make things a different way in the first place? Is it because it protects me from feeling powerless and helpless, and I experienced that in my childhood, and I'm relating it to this experience? I'm just kind of interested in like the root of control and why I get so invested in believing in my thoughts in the first place.
That's a big question.
Yeah,
It's
answer,
what you-
answer that question.
You want to know there? I mean, you alluded to one that some people where their control issues start to arise from, and that's from either being trained in control early on in their lives or having no control, and so now I'm going to grab this because at the end, is it not an issue of trust? Trust that things will work out as they're supposed to work out. Trust that I will find my way. Trust that there are answers, and my answers might be not your answers, but they're mine. I will find my way out of the woods. One of my favorite, yeah.
The bigger perspective, right? It's like seeing from my small perspective of I thought things should have gone this way, but
Yes.
really, who knows in the whole scheme of the universe, like how this is actually a part of getting me to where I need to go.
It is. The middle way broadens your perspective. That's that whole idea about climbing the mountain and seeing all sides once you're there. That's a broadening perspective. Both of these over-involvements is a small box. It has to go like this. No involvement is an even smaller box. It's just you and the box. That's it. And those things. And so the more you work this global approach, and that means that we have some, part of the Buddhist thing is we're part of this whole universal thing going on. I'm part of you and you're part of me, and we're all part together. When you do that, all of a sudden your small thing starts to broaden, and you start to. I always feel like one of the base things has something to do with trust. Mm-hmm. Do you want to add anything to that, Ruthie?
Well, I'm not totally sure I understand what's going on.
Okay.
But it is occurring to me that Jeff gave the three main causes of suffering. Suffering being anything that you wish were different. Anytime you want something to be different than the way it is, to the Buddha, that's a form of suffering. But along with craving, grasping, and clinging, there are two extra ones that the Buddha emphasizes, and they might apply here. One is ignorance, and one is delusion. So it could be that somewhere in what he's going through with trying to balance these things, there is information that you don't have. There's some spot of understanding or ignorance is there, and you could be kidding yourself about something, or be delusional. I don't know if that really applies or not, because I'm not sure I totally understand
Yeah, I think
the
that's
question.
like kind of saying trusting in the mystery almost. So
Mhm.
something bigger here is happening than this little thing that didn't go my way.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. I like that idea. That you life is flowing by you, and it's somehow, if you have a different expectation, you've changed your direction and you're swimming even though the stream is taking you this direction. The real place of enlightenment and peace is to change that. Sometimes you will never know the answer to where that arose from. People are always trying to find the sources of where did I get this?
Yeah.
Sometimes there's no answers, or fewer answers than what we would hope.
Yeah.
And so then it is what it is. What will I do now? I've observed it. If there's something unproductive and suffering connected with it, I've released it. And now that I have a clean bowl, the Buddha used the bowl image a lot. Now I can pour clear water. I can replace it with something that will be pure and will be wholesome for me. Great question.
Did either of those apply?
Yeah, the ignorance, and delusion.
How would that apply on a more general level? Or what would be?
Well,
You want to know the root cause of a lack of confidence in yourself, right? That you are not,
or where the
form of
control comes from.
right? If somebody needs to have control, it's because they don't have confidence. If you have confidence in something, you can let it be.
Mm-hmm.
If you don't have confidence in it, that's when you start wanting to control it and mold it and shape it.
Okay, I agree with you, and I was just going to bring up, I think a lot of us have had issues with alcoholic parents and things like that, where you've had to say, I need to take control. I need to take control. And maybe that's one of the reasons it comes from that.
It's compensating behavior.
Absolutely.
Well, I think the other thing is when you have alcoholic parents and you're a child, you are actually traumatized by not having any control.
Yes.
That is a true case of being a victim of the circumstances, and I think that can last for however many years.
But then when you look at that and recognize it, then you can release it, and what has happened, so that you can live in the current moment and not with what that was. That's why you do the work. That's why people do the work in therapy. That's why do the work in meditation. Why people go to church. All kinds of reasons why people want to get over this clutter, wherever it came from.
Well, I think Brian's about 80% there.
Yeah,
because he's aware,
because you're aware,
articulated, and you've got it out there. So
somebody just
I find your talk is amazing.
Oh, good, thank you.
Amazing. But I find that I was a person that wanted control because it wasn't going to be done right. It wasn't going to be done logically. It wasn't going to be done all these ways.
Timely.
But I've really changed, and I don't know what changed. But now what happens is, are we going to take a bus to Sensei, or are we going to take a car to Sensei? I'm not attached to either one. It's whatever keeps the peace. But I'm not being a victim.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I know I want peace in my day,
Mm-hmm.
so it makes no difference to me. You know, if maybe we thought we were going to drive, but now somebody says we're going to take the bus, okay. Because what's the worst thing that can happen by letting go and finding peace?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
Yeah.
And you know, just so many things like that.
Well, you're on the path towards enlightenment. That's why that's different for you.
Yeah. Just let it go.
Yeah.
And
And
you know, so
those
often
are
people
those are insights.
want to give
What
you
you're talking
advice, as you were saying, all the time, and they can't even hear. They're just giving so much advice they can't even hear,
Mm-hmm.
and you just don't take attachment to it. Just accept them
Mm-hmm.
for that, and
Yep.
listen and move on.
Yep. Good. Natalie, you want to add something too?
Well, oh gosh, there's a lot there.
It's a big topic.
It
It's a
really
big
is.
topic, yeah.
So many things jumped out because you're talking about alcoholic parents, and you're talking about where your parents, what do you call them,
Helicopter parents.
controlling or completely abandoned.
Mm-hmm.
And most people who grew up in alcoholic homes know that they're both.
It's
Mhm.
hearing.
So finding that balance,
The balance.
and then a lot of this, I'm not in a relationship right now, and I'm working on my relationship with myself, and I'm seeing this, total, when you cling and want to control and all of that, and then you can't, and it sends you into this horrible depressed state where you're completely alone in the box because you've gone to the other extreme saying, I don't care, I'm out, I'm just not even going to participate in life.
Mm-hmm.
So, again, coming back into the center, this topic for me has been really something I've been working on now for quite some time, and it's